Personal finance expert and MeVest founder Lesley-Anne Scorgi joining us on Canada Now. And Lesley-Anne, your latest article in The Star discusses 4 signs you should find a better job.
That's right. Now, I think the pandemic forced so many people to evaluate what they were doing with their careers. But when you're on the fence, should I leave? Should I stay? It can really help to turn to the numbers because they're indicators of whether or not you're being paid well, whether you're being overworked, and so on. This is also the part where some people laugh and say, well, I haven't gotten a raise in years. But, my focus this week when I was writing was really about the numbers, right? Get into the data to understand what you're worth because it just might help you seal the deal of whether you stay or go.
And knowing your worth, and that can be a difficult thing for some because there might be people that go, all right, and kind of go along with stuff or, don't feel that they are worthy of any kind of raise or attention or promotion for that matter. So I'm glad you remind everybody about that. And you talk about like one indicator, like if you haven't had a raise in 24 months, does this apply though, even with the pandemic and everybody crying poor?
It sure does. So when we look at market data for certain industries, not all, but a good chunk of industries in Canada did see modest growth over the past, 24 months. When we look at the comp cycles that most of the organizations have, they're annual, sometimes semi-annual. So we're looking at maybe we give a pass for the past 18 months, and so many people did not get raises during that time. But if you're approaching that 24-month mark, something's got to give. So it either is an indication, if you haven't gotten a raise, that maybe you're not in the right role, or your organization is not valuing the kind of work that you're doing at the level that it needs to value it. So as we're emerging from the pandemic and we're seeing the cost of living rise across the country, most of these organizations are going to need to step up to either kind of correct some of the pauses on pay or kind of keep you up to par with what's happening with cost of living.
Okay, so if you're doing your due diligence and finding out what your market value is, how far below market value would you say, all right, something's got to give here?
20%. So if you're 20% below market value, we have a problem. And think about it like this. When we give advice around things as simple as retirement planning, we're encouraging people to set aside between 10 and 20% of everything they make. That extra 20% that you are not getting paid right now because you are not doing anything maybe wrong or whatever, but you haven't asked for the raise, that's your retirement at risk here. And so I encourage everyone who's listening, get serious. If you're 20% below market rate, that is not good for your bank account. It's terrible for your retirement planning. And, I got to say, it also is not a great indicator of the health of your own company. If they can't afford to pay you at a market rate, something's going on. Now, I get the question about nonprofit all the time in this section of the conversation. Nonprofits should be compared with nonprofits, right? So if you choose to work in nonprofit and in certain sectors, make sure you're just comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, very, very well put. Absolutely. So what are some places in which people can go to find out what their market value actually is?
So the first thing I would recommend is scan all the postings for similar style jobs. Most of them will give a salary range right on the posting. And in fact, you might find in that process that you like another job somewhere else. You'll find updated skills. That can be an indication to you, you got to go get some training here. But more importantly, you're looking at job duties and compensation. that information is gold for you, because it tells you kind of high level what else is out there. And, it will be that first indication of, where you're at on that scale. But the next place I'd encourage you to go is actual databases. So we have some free or low-cost databases available to most people in Canada. And I'm going to list just a couple of examples. PayScale, the Randstad salary guide for the year 2021, that's free for download. LinkedIn Salary, Mercer benchmark database. And then you can even look at your professional organization. So maybe you belong to the association that takes care of geologists, for example. They have their own professional association. And they'll post salary ranges if you belong to that professional organization. So this is also gold. This information that you're going to glean from any one of these sources that are low to no cost will be that indicator. Like, where am I at on the scale? Am I one of those people who's being paid 20% below the market? If so, my friends, something's got to give. It's time to change jobs.
Yeah, and it's not just about money. And here I am, talking with a personal finance expert saying it's not just about the money. And but you say that in your article in the Star, and it reminds me of a time where I was working somewhere that I really did love, at least for a good chunk of time. And then I just felt like, where am I going here? Like I feel like I want to go there. I want to go there. I feel like I'm trying to burst out of where I am, and I just felt like they didn't have a vision for me. And you remind us about it. Like, if you don't see a clear career path set for you, it might not be the place for you anymore.
That's right. If you're not growing, you got to get going, because your best salary is going to be associated with you in a growth opportunity where you're shining, and where the organization you work for is super proud of your work and is willing to pay you for that. So remember, if you don't have a career path that's extremely clear, even if it's defined by you but supported by your leadership, that's fine too. But if you don't have that clear path, you got to get on your way. It is not good for your career or your finances to stay stagnant. The other thing I would say, sometimes it's okay at certain points in your life. Maybe you don't have an aggressive career path. And I'm thinking of like all the super busy parents out there. Maybe they don't have time to get into the professional development that they need or whatnot. It's okay. Just don't let it be for too long.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because loyalty can come at a financial cost. But if you really do put in the time and the effort to look for something more lucrative, it can really pay off. If you find that you are working longer and you're making less, another indicator there.
I don't know if you recall, at the front end of the pandemic, Jeff, there were so many organizations that cut back salaries across the board. And they said, this will be temporary and we'll hopefully top you back up at the end of this phase. So many people have not been brought back up to their pre-pandemic salaries. I was reading research as I was putting together my piece in the Star that was indicating it could be until 2023 before some of these salaries are brought back to market. What I have to say here is, if you're working more and you're still getting paid less, it's time to take a hard look at whether or not you need to leave. And I also encourage entrepreneurs in the same piece of advice. If you are just straining yourself to keep your business afloat and it's going to come to a point where maybe it's not worth it, it could be time that you shut your virtual or physical doors and get back into a more traditional job. There's no shame in doing that, because what's at stake here is the potential to drastically improve your financial, your personal, and your professional life. When you're getting paid well, doing something that you love with a clear direction forward, you're going to achieve way more on all of those fronts than if you are unhappy, underpaid, overworked, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely right. Check out mevest.ca. Personal finance expert, Mevest founder. Hammer Hank's mom, Lesley-Anne Scorgie. Gonna have to update that soon. I
Yes.
appreciate it, Lesley-Anne, as always. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jeff.
much. All right. Thank you, Lesley-Anne. We'll wrap